I didn't follow the Tornado Cash thing too closely to begin with because I just don't pay attention to ETH too much, and also I'm just less and less on Twitter these days. I'm just
Smart.
spending a lot less time on it. But a really good thread, I think it was from Miles Suter. Was it Miles who said?
Did a really good thread,
Miles Suter did a really great thread where he said like Bitcoiners need to pay attention to
100%.
So for anyone who hasn't been following what happened with Tornado Cash, can you just do the kind of like TLDR, what happened?
Yeah, for sure. And I agree with you. Like I don't care about ETH at all. I don't think about it very much, but I do think about stable coins and the dollar.
Yeah.
And regulatory action and privacy and open source code and, you know, all of the things that connect all those things. I mean, I think it's such an important learning opportunity that really differentiates like why our incentives are the way they are, why our consensus is the way that it is. And even though Bitcoin is like very, you know, clunky and, you know, blockchain is not this magical wand thing that's awesome. It's like blockchains kind of are clunky and kind of suck. But like, that's exactly what you want. Like you want that in hard money. Like you don't want it to be easy. You don't want it to be cheap. And so I think to not learn from, I would say potential failure, certainly, and co-option by like dollar-backed entities. I think if you ignore that, you know, potentially you're opening attack vectors in Bitcoin, right? And Bitcoin can't nearly be as co-opted or dollarized at the consensus layer as Ethereum. You know, there's no, you know, just because you have more Bitcoin, that doesn't mean you have any consensus authority. And that's not as true in Ethereum, you know? So Tornado Cash, anyway, yeah, to sort of get to that, it's just an open source, non-custodial like tumbler, runs on Ethereum virtual machine, so EVM. Yeah, you know, similar to a Mixer or a CoinJoin kind of situation. Obviously there's some pretty big differences. Ethereum doesn't have a UTXO model. They're all account based, which is why there's, you know, that like, well, how many Ethereum even are there? It's like, well, it does exist in there. It's just harder to find because it's every account is like a debit or credit versus like you can just do get TXO out and you can see the literal UTXO set. So Ethereum, because of that, has a lot more, you know, ability for regulatory fuckery. You know, you can have a Bitcoin wallet or a private key, and you can make a new public address, you know, ad infinitum, basically, and I can continue to pay that to you on ETH. And I'd have no idea what other balances you have. On ETH, like I know everything you have. I know like all of the other coins you have, all the little tokens, all the stuff. It's like very, very, very transparent. And so Tornado Cash is one of the more popular, you know, things on Ethereum. And it's like kind of an infrastructural, you know, like bright light, actually. Like it's actually pretty great. But yeah, it's getting on August 8th, the OFAC, the Office of Foreign Asset Controls, which is like a subset of the Treasury, U.S. Treasury, that controls like sanctions from the government, blacklisted Tornado Cash. And said that it was connected to a North Korean money laundering, you know, like terrorist hacking group. Yeah, basically, if you're using this or associated with it, you're committing illicit activity. And it was really, really strange the way that it was all done. Like the Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, like put out a tweet that like specifically called out the protocol. And there were actually no like specific sanctions made to developers or businesses. It was like literally, if you're associated with the protocol, you know, this is the illicit thing, which is kind of new. It's always, you know, anytime they've made an attack on a mixing service or a tumbler, and that's happened before, it's always been kind of directed at the people running it. Oh, you're running a mixing service. Okay, we you know. But Tornado Cash is a smart contract. It's still running. It's just no one's putting, you know, the volume has completely imploded, but like it's still running. There's nothing they can do to like stop it. It's just if you used it and then wanted to do anything else on Ethereum, you know, Circle, which runs USDC, has already agreed to blacklist, all of the addresses that the OFAC asked them to.
Well, what's the implication of this? Because we've had Bitcoin addresses which have been blacklisted.
Yeah, I mean, it's been attempted before. I mean, I think Marathon put out a thing like, not too long ago where they're like, we're going to start, doing OFAC compliant, and then like
they want to signal in the blocks.
Yes. And then basically immediately like Fred Thiel put out a video and was just like, it's not really possible. We can't really do it. It's not profitable. And just the way mining works in Bitcoin, it's much harder to censor transactions in Bitcoin. Like even if you have 51% of the hash rate, right, which no one has, but say you had 51%, all you would have to do as like if they were censoring, I would only just have to wait 20 minutes instead of 10 minutes.
You're eventually going to get in the block.
Of course.
Yeah.
And, is it possible that a dollarized entity could, subsidize, unprofitable Bitcoin mining with the dollar to, try to create like, some sort of censorship ability in Bitcoin? Like it's possible, but man, is it expensive. Man, would you need a ton of energy, and you need billions and billions of dollars of hardware that needs to be machined, which can't happen. So it's not impossible, but it's like practically impossible.
But there's two things to separate here. There's a censoring of transactions from the blockchain, which absolutely you can't really do. As you've explained, it's too difficult. But at the same time, when an address is sanctioned, me as an individual, if it's sanctioned and blacklisted by OFAC, I'm unlikely to be somebody who's going to want to transact with that address. I'm not going to want to receive Bitcoin from it or send Bitcoin to it.
Right.
As somebody maybe has an address which has been KYC'd and connected. I just want to avoid that association.
Totally.
It's not worth, it's too risky for me.
Yeah. And there's just huge differences in a proof of work system to a proof of stake system.
Well, so what I want to get to here is, what is the difference? Yeah, you're about to answer that. What is the difference here? What are the implications of Tornado Cash?
Yeah, well, it's so many. I would say the biggest one right off the bat is the implication that regulatory, entities are here. The fight has started. Open source developers are being arrested for writing code, which is free speech. And they absolutely should not be arrested for that. And it's incredibly dangerous precedent.
Well, let's explore that.
Yeah.
Not just take it as a given. There's the writing of code. What if you wrote code that allowed you to steal money from a bank? Is that free speech?
Sure. I mean, that's like building a road and then getting mad that criminals are like trafficking, or bootlegging on it. It's
but are we separating somebody using that code, or so is it the writing of the code or the using of the code for the action? Well, because if I write code that you use to rob a bank, like steal the money from a bank, you're saying, well, I shouldn't be arrested for writing the code. But what if I write the code and so
explicitly to break the law?
Yeah. So if I hack into a bank and steal their money with code I've written,
but the hack's the crime.
The hack is the crime.
Not writing the
theft
code.
Is the crime. It's not the code you wrote to brute force in or whatever.
Yeah. But okay. But if somebody writes code to allow people to mix something, where is the crime at this point?
There shouldn't be any, because there's no reason that privacy should be anything but a fundamental right.
Okay, so that's the separation. That's what we're saying.
100%.
So writing allowed anyone to, but say you...
Like there's tons of legitimate reasons to use Tornado Cash.
Oh, no, I get it. I'm just trying to break down the differences, just so people understand. I'm not supporting any of this.
Totally.
But if I wrote the code specifically for a criminal organization to use it, so if I was contracted by a criminal organization to write them code to launder money, have I then committed a crime?
I mean, that I think is sort of what the state is saying, is that like this is a North Korean monetary laundering, I think it's like the Lazarus group or whatever, that there's this like hacking group that's using cryptocurrency, the extended space to like avoid US sanctions. Yes, that would be illegal, but it would be the avoiding of sanctions. Like that would be the illegal thing. It would be the theft. It would be the hacking. The actual mix, and there's an infinite amount of reasons why. And in Ethereum, it's actually more important because of that XPub public address private key stuff we were talking about. It's much more important in Ethereum because it's account based. And so, I can see Jimmy Fallon's entire, ETH history, whereas I can put up a public address and you can't see, anything that I've done in Bitcoin, even if it literally came out of the same private key.
They need XPubs.
They need XPubs. That's right. That's right.
I know.
Oh, Shinobi says hi. By the way, he told me to give you a hello.
Oh, are we back friends, me and Shinobi?
I hope so.
Yeah.
The water's warm. Come on.
I hope so. Send him back. Send some love back.
I will, of course, man. I'm trying to break all that shit down. Everybody.
Honestly, I want to be friends with everybody I've fallen out with. Anyone, even Safety can get in touch. I'm happy to be friends with everyone.
100%. And if you can't be friends with people you disagree with, like, do some checking in on yourself.
I always think the people you disagree with are the people you spend more time with. You know, you should try and understand them. Disagree, you don't have to have a beer with them. Try and understand them. Don't block people just because you block someone as a dick. Don't block them because you disagree with them.
Totally.
It's fucking ridiculous.
I actually use Twitter mostly to break the echo chamber, and it gets me in trouble a lot. But it's like people think I'm this like alt-right guy because I like love Pepe and I'm like a free speech maxi and whatever. And it's like, no, I'm actually like pretty progressive in a lot of ways, pretty libertarian in a lot of ways.
You don't even eat animals.
I don't even eat animals.
Can I talk about that?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, you don't even eat animals.
I thought it was really funny when they dropped off the thing last night. They were like, and the vegetarian and, risotto. I'm like, you could have just said risotto. I guess. You didn't really need to call me out here.
Fucking freak. We got the freak's meal.
Yeah.
Right? Go and sit on the freak table.
Yeah. We got the food for our food. Does anyone want to eat that?
I was a vegetarian for 16 years.
Wow.
16 years, 2 years vegan. And I've been toying with going back for a little bit.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of toying with doing the opposite. I've done about 10 years and...
it's good to mix it up.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
totally. And you just eat a lot of carbs and that shit sucks and it's just bad for you. And I've had like some psoriasis stuff bust out because of it. And like, if I don't take my supplements, I feel really shitty.
Dude, when I wasn't working and I was a vegan and making every meal, I was the healthiest I've ever been.
Yeah.
When I went back to work, I got ill because I was eating carbs and shit.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, how many dinners as a bartender did I have that were just like Cliff Bars and Red Bulls, like, above a trash can? You want to know what bartending is? Like, that's what it is, right? Anyway. It's just so bad for you. But back to Tornado Cash and stuff. So yeah, there's just a lot of big differences. And I think one of the more interesting, sort of the main differences between proof of work and proof of stake is sort of how validation and mining works. And again, we already mentioned, like, just because you have over 50% of the hash rate really doesn't do much. Like, you need an extreme amount of the hash rate to really do any sort of censorship and then continue to run and keep pace on everyone else. It's just not really incentivized to do that. And then also, like, you look at the mempool and, if there are transactions that aren't getting put into blocks that normally would, like, then you can kind of, okay, we can start to see very clearly that there's censorship happening because why wasn't this high value, fee, transaction recorded in the last block, but one that was cost less was. Like, you can very tangibly see the value in a candidate block, like a block template on Bitcoin.
And so the guy who created Tornado Cash, he's been arrested.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And is still in jail as far as I know. Yeah.
And as we as Bitcoiners, I would help support his
Yeah.
We should. Because
this isn't about Bitcoin. I mean, this is the U.S. government and the dollar system beating an open source project and a free speech project. Like, if you don't think this is a horribly bad precedent and something Bitcoiners should care about, like, I don't. This isn't like, oh, Bitcoin's winning because ETH is losing. It's like, no, this is a big change that's happening.